Hello and welcome to My Life in Spain. My name is Mark, and today I want to talk a little bit about the tragedy that's taking place in Almeria. Now that, if you heard the noise in the background, that's an ambulance. Spain is suffering one of the worst wildfires they've had in years. Now, where it's taking place is about a 2-hour, 40-minute drive south of where I live. I live in southeastern Spain as well, but I live in Alcoy up in the mountains. Where the fire is, it's closer to the coast down in Almeria. And I want to talk a little bit about why people make the mistake of buying a house in the Campo in Spain. Now, I get it. You come to Spain, you're looking for somewhere to live. You've moved from the UK, or you've moved from Belgium or the Netherlands or Scandinavia or the United States, and you want to live out in the countryside, and you want to have a nice house and a nice life. Well, initially it looks really good, you know. You got a nice in-ground swimming pool, outdoor kitchen. I mean, you think, wow, this is exactly what I've been looking for. But what you haven't done is your homework. Now, Spaniards have these houses, but they use them for weekend getaways. You know, they go for the weekend, they get together with the family, they have a barbecue. They don't live there full time. Most of these houses are not meant to be lived in full time. But the foreigners that come here, they think, oh, this is going to be the ideal life. Number one, you need a car. Number two, the roads are bad up in the mountains. You might have only one way in and one way out. This is something that was a big problem for the people that have died in the fire in Almeria. Right now, from what I just saw in the news, there's 12 people dead and there's still 23 people missing. If you get cut off in your car and you can't go anywhere. So some of them did, I think, and tried to get away on foot, and it just overcame them. It's not the fire that kills you, it's the smoke. When I had the bar in Constantina, an English guy came in and he said, he lived in the Campo. Now we have fires here in the summer. Every summer there's a fire somewhere nearby, because I live surrounded by mountains. And you can smell it in the air. You can smell the fire. So he came in the bar one day, and I said, are you not worried about the wildfires near where you live? He said, no, I'll be fine. I said, well, what are you going to do? He said, if I have to, I'll jump in the pool. I said, you'll jump in the pool? How are you going to breathe? And he thought for a minute. He says, oh, I didn't think of that. Every death in a wildfire is due to breathing in the smoke. It's not due to being burned alive. It's due to the smoke. The smoke will kill you first. And you can't jump in the pool and think, oh, I'll be fine. I'm in the water. It's going to burn me. You're not. You're going to die from the smoke because there's no oxygen in the air. Now, these wildfires here, they spread very fast. Now, even where I am now, in the afternoons lately, I mean, we've had hot temperatures. It's been up to 40 degrees centigrade, which is over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And every afternoon we've had these hot, warm winds. I guess like the wildfire in California, the Santa Barbara winds, or Santa Maria, I don't know. But hot winds in the afternoon, and the fire just spreads. I mean, so far from what I know, they haven't contained it. They've got the army in, they've got everybody working to stop the fire from spreading. They've evacuated a lot of people, but still many have died, and it looks bad. Hopefully they'll get the fire contained soon. But buying a property in the Campo, it's a host of reasons why you shouldn't do it. Number one, you're going to come here, you're going to go in this immobiliary or estate agent, and they're going to say, you're going to tell them what you want, and they're going to say, oh, I have this beautiful property up in the mountains here. You've got this many acres, you've got 100 olive trees, you've got fruit trees, you can make your own olive oil. It sounds wonderful, right? I've got a nice house, I've got an in-ground pool, I've got an outdoor kitchen, I've got 100 olive trees, I've got some fruit trees, and I'm going to live great here. Okay, let's get down to where the dream falls apart. Number one, services. You're out in the middle of nowhere. There's no public transportation. There's no trash pickup. You've got to take your garbage or your rubbish in your car, maybe a couple of kilometers to get rid of it. If you're sick and you need an ambulance, you're going to call the emergency number 112 and you're going to say, okay, my name's blah, 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 blah. I need an ambulance. I'm in Casablanca or Casa Azul. They don't have numbers on the streets here outside of towns and cities. So you're going to say, well, what's the road number? CV60 or CV322 or whatever. And the ambulance is going to try and find you. Now, talking about the bar again, one of my customers came in. We used to call him Farmer John because he lived out in the Campo and he had a lot of land. And he told me he had a heart attack. And he called 112 for the ambulance, and the ambulance couldn't find where he lived. He said by the time it got there and took him to the hospital, he was lucky he was still alive. And I thought that clicked with me. I said, yeah, I can understand. Yeah. He says, I'm selling the house, the land. I'm going to get an apartment in the city near where the hospital is in case I have another heart attack. And I listened to him and I thought, you know what? I live in a town, but it's still a good 15 minutes from the hospital. I'm probably going to move to the same city, which was Alcoy, of course. And I did. Now I live 500 meters from the hospital. I mean, this sounds funny, right? Because you're thinking, oh, you know you're old when you want to live near a hospital. I'm not old, but living in the city near the hospital, whenever I get a doctor's appointment, I can just walk there. I don't need a car here. I've got great public transport. So I'm very happy about the place where I moved. And John moved here not far away from me, and he seems happy too. Now the next thing, buying a place in the countryside. Many of these houses were not meant for living in. They were meant for animals or what have you, and barns. And over the years, people added on to them to turn them into more habitable places to live. But this is illegal. So before you buy anything in the Campo, you must check very carefully that it's a legal property. Because if it's not and you buy it, you might not be able to ever sell it. So there's one good point right there. Do your research. Next thing, utilities. Many of these places, they won't have running water. You'll need a well, or you'll need the water delivered by truck. Again, an inconvenience, right? And even the well water, if you don't have an existing well, the water needs to be filtered. Here is very high calcium in the water. But if you don't have a well, you can't just drill one. They won't let you do that. There was a story that happened a few years back where a young boy fell down an illegal well hole and died. No, actually he didn't die, he was rescued. But the person that dug the well should not have done it. He didn't have permission. So no water. Electricity. You might not have a hookup for electricity. You might need to rely on solar panels. I mean, you can do it, sure. But, gas, natural gas, forget about that. You're going to have bombas, the big canisters of gas, and you need to have them delivered, or you got to go buy them at a gas station, petrol station. So living in the Campo is not all it's cracked up to be. You've got to be on your own. If something happens and you need help, who are you going to call? Your nearest neighbor might be half a kilometer away. You don't know. So just think very carefully before you do this. And like I say, every time you need to do something, you're going to do it by car. The next thing, I think about 10 years ago, there was a spate of robberies in houses in the Campo. And they put it down to a gang of Eastern Europeans. I don't know if they were Romanians or Bulgarians or where they were from. But what they would do, they would track your movements, and they'd realize, okay, this family goes to Carrefour every Saturday because they buy like a week's worth of groceries. And so somebody will be by your house on the Saturday. They'd see you get in your car and leave, and then they'd call the other guy at Carrefour and say, oh, they just left. So the guy at Carrefour would confirm when the car arrived, yeah, they're here now, you can break into the house. So they break into the house and they steal anything they could. So another thing in the country, it's you leave yourself open to theft. Now, even though they have bars on the windows and stuff, that can be a negative as well. If you have a fire in the house, you might only have one way to get out, through the front door. And if you're in a bedroom and there's a fire running everywhere, what are you going to do? You could die in your bedroom. So living in a campo for me is, while it sounds nice, I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea to go for an afternoon and have a barbecue, but not to live there full time. But like I say, many British and Northern Europeans, they make this mistake. I mean, they can't have a nice big house with a swimming pool and beautiful weather and olive trees and oh, then you got the before I forget, you got the maintenance of the property. Taking care of olive trees and fruit trees requires maintenance. You have to keep the property clean, which means when you prune the trees, you've got to rake everything up, you've got to get it in piles, and then you need to burn it. But you can't just burn it. You have to get a permit from the Ayuntamiento, from the town hall. And there's only certain times of the year they'll let you burn the vegetation, I guess you're going to call it. So it's another thing you got to think about. And then the olives, sure, it's great to have your own olive oil. It's a lot of work. If you're elderly, it's a lot of, you're going to have to hire people. If you hire people, you're going to make no money. You'll end up, what many will do, well, they'll say, okay, we'll do it for you, but you give us half the olive oil as payment, or X amount of money. So it's a lot of work. Having a house is a lot of work. Then plus your house in the Campo, in the Comunidad Valenciana, you have to have a 25-meter boundary around your house where you can't have any grass, you can't have any bushes, overhanging branches. It's got to be kept sparse because of wildfires. Now, wildfires, they happen in Spain, they happen a lot. And we haven't had one yet here where I'm living in Alcoy, but I guarantee you we'll have at least one or two before we get to September. It's a dangerous thing, it really is. So before you think about buying something in the Campo, think about this. Also, many of these houses, they have one way in and one way out. So if you can't get out in time, you could be stuck and end up dying, which unfortunately has happened now in El Maria. So Campo houses, nah. Plus another one, I forgot another thing. Your insurance is going to be much higher if you live in the Campo, because insurance companies, they don't value properties in the Campo like they do in the city. So if you're living in the Campo, you're going to pay higher premiums for homeowners insurance than you would in the city. And then if something happens to your house, and let's say you didn't keep the land clean, and they find out that that was one of the reasons the fire started, they're not going to pay out. So lots to think about. Me personally, if I'm going to move to Spain, and Spain's a great place to live, I'm going to live in a mid-sized town or a small city. You have everything you need there. You have the public transport, you have the medical facilities, you have the ambulances that know the addresses, where to go and get you quickly. I wouldn't live in the Campo. No way. I might have a casita, like I say, for the weekend or something, but I'm not buying something to live in full time in the countryside. Okay, that's just my take on this. It's really a tragedy what's happened in Almeria. Again, these people, they buy these things and they don't know what they're doing. They don't realize how dangerous it can be. And it's tragic. It really is. So please, if you're moving to Spain, think very hard before you buy something in the Campo. All right, that's all for now. Listen, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate the thumbs up, and please subscribe if you're not a subscriber already. If you are, thank you. And I'll catch you in my next video. Bye for now.